forgot to say something. Lightweight, step it aside when we coming. Feel it in your chest, the syllables get pumping. People on the street get panic and start running. Words on loose leaf sheet, complete coming. I jump on my mind, I summon the rhyme, I'm dumping. Feeling is blind, I promise to let the sun in. Sick of the dark ways, we march to the drumming. Jump when they tell us that they want to see jumping. Dad, I want to see some fist pumping. Risk something, take back what's yours. Say something that you know they might attack you for. Cause I'm sick of being treated like I had before. Like a stupid standing for what I'm standing for. Like this war's really just a different brand of war. Like it doesn't cater to rich and a fan of...
Charlie McGrath. What a day. What a day. It's the 4th of January, Tuesday, 2011. And I have Chistopher Greene coming up in just a minute here, and I'm excited to have him back on the show. I know a lot of you are in the chat room now or coming over to hear him. If you would like to join in the chat, go to wideawakenews.com. Click on Wide Awake Radio. It'll take you right into the chat room. We have about 90 people in there so far. So you can go over there and post questions or comments or just chat with like-minded folks. I'm saying what a day. Oh, wait, I'm not going to go off yet because I want to mention, I keep forgetting, Bonnie works so hard on our Facebook page. And I know a lot of you don't like Facebook. I'm going to tell you what, I don't either. But thankfully, Bonnie, and I'm not even sure she likes it that much, but she updates it every day. She posts my videos there. She also posts updates on who the guest is going to be for the following show. So go to Wide Awake. Go to Facebook.com/WideAwakeNews, and you can follow the program day to day through there as well. I'm saying what a day because I have here's the headlines I have pulled up. U.S. consumer bankruptcy up over last year. We have birds and fish dying, and nobody knows why. You know, they're saying it's happened before, but never in this kind of scale. National debt has just went to $14 trillion. Federal Reserve meeting minutes came out today. They have no intention, even though yesterday they were talking up the economy, basically saying that maybe they would back out of quantitative easing. When the minutes come out, they have absolutely no intention whatsoever of stopping this quantitative easing. And somebody said in the chat room, the world's coming to an end. I don't know if it's that bad, but it certainly seems like, here, this is where we live. We live in a society, in a world where you have the White House's chairman of, or the chairman of the Presidential Finance Committee come out and say, Congress, you got to throw us further into debt. A day later, the minutes from the Federal Reserve come out saying, we've had recovery. We're doing a great job with the trillions of dollars that we've grifted out of the pockets of the American people and the people around the world, for that matter. We've done a great job so far, but not quite good enough yet, so we're going to have to keep printing money out of thin air. We have birds, in a region that just had millions and millions of gallons of oil spew into the Gulf of Mexico. They're falling out of the air. Same thing with the fish. And nobody's paying attention. It's like, there's a small community in alternative media that are awake. They get it. They see what's going on, and they question things. But, the headlines, even the headlines going into this show, before you had that nice little reminder that, that the network's not responsible for what I say, before that we have the news. And the lady comes on, and she's talking about bankruptcies are down month to month. Well, I posted the question in the chat room. What is she talking about? How are they putting this out as news? This lady probably makes $200,000 or $300,000 a year to sit there and read what some corporation types up on a piece of paper, and people just gobble this up. I dropped the story immediately after showing that we went from 1.4 million bankruptcies in 2009 to 1.53 million bankruptcies in 2010. It's insane. It's insane. And how do the markets respond today? The news that the Fed's going to keep printing money, $600 billion worth? Well, the markets, they loved it. They ended up positive on the Dow Jones. But all these people who were getting a little bit nervous towards the end of 2010, well, they decided, okay, well, they would buy a little bit of gold and silver to hedge themselves. And they get the news today that the Fed's in control of everything. Old Ben Bernanke, he's got it dialed in. So we have this massive sell-off on gold and silver. There's some days where you just want to throw your hands up in the air and give up. I mean, what are you supposed to do? I mean, you could beat people over the head with information all day long. In a lot of cases, they're just not going to pull their head out of the sand. They just don't want to get in touch with reality. So that's why I've said on this program and in videos before, I almost think the best thing that could happen is this top-heavy, bureaucratic-laden system that we have just crumple under its own weight. And then we perp walk a bunch of people. Then we instill some justice in this country again. We instill some integrity back into this country. And we start over again as a representative republic rather than this sham of a democracy that we have, this corporatocracy. And I'm going to get to Christopher Greene now because I don't want to burn up too much time. I love listening to him go off too. But and we're going to get into the video that Da Vinci called in last night. I want to talk about that as well. For the life of me, the name of it is escaping. The American Dream film. Excellent, excellent movie. I'll drop it into the chat room here in a minute. But if you haven't seen that, Da Vinci was right. It's outstanding. And I even saw Christopher put out a promo video for it earlier today, too. It's simple, it's basic, and it's almost a crying shame that we have to break things down to this, slapstick comedy level in order for people to get it. We're being led down the path to absolute ruin in this country, and our top official spokesmen come out and say, we don't have enough debt. We're going to be in trouble if we don't go further into debt. Goolsbee on Sunday. Bernanke, we're going to have quantitative easing 2. He's not ruling out quantitative easing 3. These geniuses got us here, guys. They brought us to where we are right now. And we're trusting them implicitly that they're going to fix the problem. They created the problem. All right, let me get our guest on here. Chistopher Greene, Green Wave TV. Welcome back to the program. It's always nice to have you on.
Yeah, hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Doing pretty good, considering that I live in an upside-down, topsy-turvy, through-the-looking-glass type world. How about you?
Yeah, I hear you. It's lunacy. It's crazy talk, but, like I kind of said in one of my videos, who cares? It doesn't seem like anyone does care, and you're right. The same people that are, pitching us on, all these QEs and TARP programs and bailouts are the same people that created the problem in the first place. So, it's unbelievable. Sometimes you do have to put your hands up in the air and I guess just kind of laugh at the situation, but it's scary. It's absolutely scary, and we've got a lot of people, I think, focusing on the wrong things right now. A lot of the critics are only pointing to one thing, and they're pointing to the Dow Jones Industrial Average right now, and pointing to it saying, well, we can't possibly be at, 11,700 range on the Dow Jones Industrial Average and, be in the stages of economic collapse. Can we? Mm-hmm. And that's the question they ask. And we are. Every fundamental that we have in this economy is broken at the moment. It's getting worse. It's deteriorating by the day. The people of this country are suffering. And, you've got the cheerleaders on Wall Street just telling us everything's fine. They're not even telling us everything is fine, Charlie. They're throwing a party, at the expense of us. And it's hurting the people. And the people know this, but a lot of people just don't care. That's what's so frustrating, is that I know more and more people are waking up. And, I fully believe in a grassroots movement. I think it's already starting in this country. But, people really need to wake up and smell the coffee and see what's going on right now. So
yeah, and it's kind of amazing. And I'll announce right now, I just sent Brett a message, the producer, just so he remembers that we're not doing a midway or a three-quarter way. We're only going to do the one break at the bottom of the hour. So if you're interested in calling in, 877-3... Whoa, what is it? 877-342-6673. It's right there on my website. How did I not see it? 877-342-6673. You can ask questions of myself or Chistopher if you'd like, or you can go to the chat room, 106 people in there, and you can post stuff in there, and we'll try to get to those on the air as well. Yeah, it is. And here's the deal. This is what started my insane day, Chistopher. I'm in the middle of a move for my job, my day job. And I have to relocate about 100 miles away. Everybody, or a lot of people listen to the show know this because we've talked about it before. But I'm in the process of renting one property that I'm living in now that I own and renting it out, and then getting a rental property. That's a whole different story. I'm ending up with half of my mortgage payment 100 miles away in something that is so much more spacious and brand new and gorgeous for half what I'm paying for a house built in 1982. But I mean, that's a different story. I guess that's one of the positive sides of the housing meltdown. At least if you're a renter. Anyway, during this move, I'm going to have a lull of between income from rental and moving into this new house and pay package and all that. About a month where I'm really going to be hit hard with bills. Right? I've got a lot of stuff coming due, so I decided I was going to take a little bit of silver. I hate to do it, but this morning I got up and I thought, well, I'm going to have to bite the bullet. I'm going to have to trade some silver in and fund myself for the next month. And honestly, my silver was all purchased before I brought Gabe Elton and Austin Maricoin on as sponsors. So the person I'm about to speak to wasn't Gabe or Austin Maricoin, but it was somebody I've known for years. And I've bought thousands and thousands of dollars worth of precious metal, and I started buying the stuff when it was single digits on silver. And, I talked the whole entire time about, this is coming, all this bailout, all this money printing, all this borrowing, $1 trillion deficit that's going to go through the roof. And he'd, and you take my dollars and give me silver. And I traded a little bit in today. And as I'm, he's handing me a check at $30+ an ounce. It got in early this morning. He's telling me, I think we're going to pull it out. I think we're going to, because we talked about economic collapse before. And he's thinking that we're on the road to recovery because all the news has been, all this fluff in the mainstream, at least the business media, about things are going to be better. The year kicked off with a 100-point rally on the Dow. And I said, no, I don't think so at all. I said, I'm selling this because I have to, not because I want to. But I think it's going to get far worse. Then I started trying to talk to him about all this offshore money that's about to flood the market because they're going to get a tax holiday on the corporate rate. This is going to come in and drive the market, and we really could see, 18,000 points on the Dow. And just like you said, he considers that as prosperity. And then he discounted the entire story because I didn't quote it from the Wall Street Journal, and the actual words out of his mouth are, I've been in this business for 40 years. There's no way I'm going to believe anything off the internet. And I'm like, well, it's not off the internet. It's a proven fact. These guys had a meeting at the White House, and they're shooting for this deal, and they're about to wash a bunch of money into Wall Street. They're going to launder a bunch of money from the Cayman Islands into Wall Street, drive up a bunch of stock value, and then walk away with a nice tidy profit because they were able to cash in all their stock offerings. And it's just the guy thinks I'm delusional. And I say to him, Guy, I'm not going to say his name, Guy. Look, you said that we'll never see above $20 again, and here we are. I'm cashing this in at 30. I said it's going to probably be at 50 before the end of the year, and he basically got mad for me trying to tell him his business. But this is somebody who lives precious metal, millions of dollars a year, and he's just I didn't hear it in the Wall Street Journal. I didn't see it on CNBC, so it isn't true.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, this is the mother of all bubbles. What we're seeing now, what you're seeing in the stock market, what you're seeing with all these smiling faces on CNBC, Maria Bartiromos of the world, which, all they do is read a teleprompter all day long. I mean, none of it's a true, honest opinion with, the good intentions of the people in mind at all. This is just the mother of all bubbles. I mean, the Fed has proven to be good at one thing and one thing only, and that is creating artificial bubbles, which is exactly what they did, with real estate a few years ago. I mean, we saw the hysteria. Everyone was in real estate. Everyone was becoming a paper millionaire overnight. It was too easy. I mean, I was reading articles about people from, Las Vegas and parts of California buying up real estate here in our home state of Arizona, owning 10 to 15 properties, didn't even know how many homes they owned at a time. They were closing on 2 or 3 homes a week. And all this paper, fictitious wealth was being created. And what happened to that? What was the end result? Well, it all was destroyed because the fundamentals were broken and poor to begin with, which is the same situation we have now. I mean, the fundamentals are horrible for the U.S. stock market. I mean, the only reason why you see the Dow at 11,700 a day is because of one reason. It's because of artificial stimulus. It's because of QE1. It's because of QE2 to QE infinity. It's because of, housing tax credits, which, by the way, every consecutive month since the housing tax credits have expired, residential real estate has declined on a national basis and is still declining and is going to get materially worse because we have millions and millions of foreclosures coming to market next year or this year now in 2011. So, they're just creating a bubble. So the question is, they can push this out, as we said time and time again, another day, another couple weeks, another month, or even a few years. But you can't kick the can down the road forever. And, really honestly, I think our federal officials, our government, the politicians, they know that this is the end game. They know they're out of options. That's why they're pretty much, giving it the last ditch effort. But it's not going to end well. It's really going to end, as I hate to say it, because, I would like to think of myself as an optimist, but it's going to end in a bloodbath. People think 2008 was rough. Wait until you see where we get to. Wait until you see in the next couple of years what this economy is really looking at. We are already the laughing stock of the world right now. And, we're in a lot of trouble. And, I know a lot of us are awake to this and understand this, but, the next question is, again, you got to ask, what can we do about it? I do think that we can do something to potentially fix the problem, but nobody's focusing on how to fix things right now. So
No, not at all. Most people aren't focusing on fixing things because they think it's, like my friend who's been in this business for 40 years, he's seeing light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm like you, Christopher. I want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. My job, my income is 100% based on consumers being able to have a job to go to and then build a house or remodel a home. I'm in the wholesale building commodities business, and if as the markets decline, so does my lifestyle, and so does my income. Period. So I would love to, I look at those same reports you do. I see since the $8,000 gimmick has ended, we're seeing a decline. Now I've had to tell vendors, calling, asking me, hey, I got this new product and it's 50%, 60% less than it was last year if you just buy it. And I got to tell them, I'd love to help you, but we got to have some, new housing starts before I can bring any new product on. Fortunately, in my area, in the Northwest here, we had a lot of hail and wind damage over the summer, so it made our year. We had millions and millions of dollars in roofing material go out, but that's even fictitious because it's all backed by insurance. And as soon as they're insolvent, we're going to print more money to keep them alive because they're all too big to fail.
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
Oh, sorry to interrupt there, Charlie. I was just going to say, where's the demand? Where is it? Charlie, we can't get people to buy houses now at artificially low interest rates, at 0% interest rates, and with, tax credits we're creating out of thin air, which have expired. Right. We can't get people to buy homes now. Where is the demand going to be when millions of foreclosures hit the market next year and the next?
Not only that, Christopher, we have commercial real estate hitting. A lot of those resets hit this year. Today, a busy day. I saw a long time gold guy, and then later on, I went in and saw a friend of mine in the town I'm moving to, and she's a vice president of a bank, a regional bank, and just this look of chagrin. And I'm like, is everything okay? And she goes, yeah, it's just a little rough right now. And I said, commercial? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I'm in the Sun Valley, the Vale of Montana, where, there's a lot of Wall Street money coming into this area because it's a ski resort town and, $20 million properties. And, commercial real estate is about to go through its own contraction. And you're in Phoenix, correct?
Yeah, I'm out here locally in Phoenix.
Oh, well, I'm not even going to talk because you guys are neck deep in empty, vacant commercial property.
Oh, yeah. Charlie, I'm not exaggerating when I'll tell you, at least from the residential perspective, and I've got friends in commercial, and I'll tell you what they're doing now. They're unemployed. Okay, they don't have jobs anymore. And these are highly educated, smart people that I know. But, I'm not exaggerating when I'll tell you it's been Armageddon in terms of real estate out here. It's absolutely been just a horrific experience. Prices are off 50%, residential real estate going lower. I mean, I know people literally that bought 2 or 3 years ago that are going to be either going to have 20, 30 cents on the dollar compared to their initial investment in the next few years. I mean, that is catastrophic. So
catastrophic, considering the banks that if they're fortunate enough not to be held, the paper isn't held by a regional bank, which most commercial real estate is. How many hundreds of banks are we going to lose in 2011? Regional, not the too big to fail. How many regionals are we going to lose? Because a lot of regional banks they didn't dabble as much in the home real estate or in the home mortgage business. They stuck to commercial because it was a more safe investment. Well, guess what? It isn't going to be, because everything else is crumbling at the same time. This is something we haven't seen yet. This isn't something this commercial real estate, this is the year for that. I think what 2009 was for for home mortgages is what 2011 is going to be for commercial.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be the case, Charlie. So I would say you're right on that.
I'm gonna, Christopher, let's take our one and only break of the show. Call in, guys, 877-342-6673. This will be the only break. We'll be right back. And on the other side of this, I know people in the chat room want us to start talking about the bird and fish kill. So we'll get into that right after this break. We'll be right back with Chistopher Greene on Wide Awake Radio right after this.
If you hang outside,
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Wide Awake Radio. We did do the one commercial break is all, and that's all we're going to do. However, my good friend Gabe never got a mention in that commercial break, so I'm going to say if you're looking for gold or silver, look no further than Ostermeyer Coins. They have great prices, and Gabe's always running some good deals out there. I'm going to give you his 800 number right now, 800-928-6468. It's 800-928-6468. I know a lot of you listening, and some of you in the chat room have purchased from him. So, talk amongst yourselves. If you bought from Ostermeyer Coin and you had a good experience, drop that into the chat room. And he will be our guest on this Thursday. So we'll bring some specials to you on Thursday's show. All right, I want, Cookie, I know you're holding. I'm going to bring you right on in a second. Christopher, a lot of people are asking about the fish kill in the chat room and the bird kill. I'm going to be honest. I've been looking at all these economic stories. I did read one article on the birds in Louisiana, falling out of the sky by the thousands, and they don't know why. I mean, they got these scientists saying it's going to take them weeks to figure out what killed them. It could be a cold front. It could be disease. It could be lightning. What do you know?
Well, look, I mean, I've read this, the same articles I'm sure everyone has read, Look, I'll tell you this, it wasn't fireworks, which is what they're trying to spin it off as, at least I heard I think that whoever the head is of the, Fish and Game, whoever that representative is, that's what he was saying. Look, I think the obvious is probably, it's got to be pollution, it's got to be disease. I've heard, speculation that it could be something called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but HARP, High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. I don't know if you guys have talked about that.
I know about it. We've never talked about it on the show. I know Jeff's done quite a few shows. Jeff Rintz has on the subject, and that's the controlling. Well, I don't know what the stated purpose of it is, but the claims are that they can actually through sending waves like radio waves, high frequency radio waves, they can affect weather and in some cases affect the fault system on the Earth and cause earthquakes. Now, I'm certainly not an expert on it, but it seems something's going on to kill, this vast number of animals in a very, regional type area.
Yeah. So, it begs a lot of questions. I mean, obviously something's wrong. You just don't have, 5,000 birds fall out of the sky. You don't have 100,000 fish wash up dead in Arkansas without there being a problem. But based on the research I was looking at, and again, I'm not an expert in this area, but HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, and what it is, I guess, is it's a ionospheric research program jointly funded by the U.S. Air Force, the Navy, and the University of Alaska. And its purpose is to analyze the ionosphere and investigate the potential for developing ionospheric enhancement technology for radio communication and surveillance purposes, which could mean missile detection or detecting, let's say, planes, or, let's say North Korea was trying to attack the U.S. So, there's been some speculation that, okay, maybe the federal government, just like in the Cold War period, we're running all these nuclear tests with the atomic bomb and all this stuff, as we know tensions are escalating globally right now, maybe we're running some tests, behind the scenes. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising to me. And, the other theory, again, is obviously, we're polluting this planet, and, it could also be another kind of disease. This is, another thought that maybe is a little out there, but, maybe it's a significant disease. I know with, some things like we saw in history with the plague. I mean, didn't that start with rats? I don't know. Maybe something else is going on. I'm just throwing out the idea, but.
Sunflower in the chat rooms, she's being funny tonight. First she said I'm loaded, I am loaded with money, and now she's saying, oh, it's just the birds, nothing to see here. That was just a harmless missile off the coast of California. That wasn't anything. Don't worry about it. Christopher, I'm gonna take a call. It's Cookie, a very good friend of the show and a great helper in the chat room. Cookie, are you there?
I'm here.
Thank you for calling.
Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Do you know what's killing the birds and fish?
Well, if it's the fireworks from the, New Year's Eve celebrations, wouldn't you think we'd see dead birds falling out of the sky every 5th of July?
Yeah, I haven't even heard the fireworks theory, so lay it on me.
Well, no, it was just they said that because of all the fireworks that it just, that they killed the birds. That another one I heard was that the fireworks scared the birds and they all ran into each other. I thought that was pretty ridiculous. But I think in the chat room, Ms. Milky the Clown asked about why is it just one species, and I think that's a really good question too.
Yeah, that is a great question. It's just the blackbird, and I'm not sure what the fish of the fish.
They said it was a certain variety of fish. I don't know which one it was though. But I think it's that HAARP theory has something going there, because aren't they the ones that also can control the weather? Yeah,
that's the report of it. Christopher
right.
just laid out what their stated goals are, but there's a lot of mystery surrounding HAARP for sure.
Well, I'm just saying from now on we're going to have to make sure we have our umbrellas with us on July 5th.
That's right, because you might be attacked by bald eagles. Falling out of the sky
falling
like
birds.
missiles.
Who knows? We got a lot of sparrows in Michigan.
Well, not for long, because we're going to come celebrate on the 4th out there and wipe them out. And plus, if the economy keeps going the way it is in Michigan, well, that could be your Thanksgiving roast is sparrows.
Hey, there we go. We'll just have to throw them in the freezer for a while.
You're gonna
Thanks, Charlie.
You bet. Thanks, Cookie. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I don't, Christopher, I don't know what to make of it. To be honest with you, like I said, I haven't done a ton of research on it. Knowing what goes on, looking at like the Gulf of Mexico when we had this ongoing disaster of the Gulf oil spill, the public was kept in the dark, and what's unfortunate is we are so sidetracked by pop culture media. We're so sidetracked with sound bites and the 24-hour news cycle that these stories end up becoming just oddities. People just like, whatever. It was a cold front, killed a bunch of birds. Whatever. It was a tidal shift, killed a bunch of fish. And they don't go into the reason. And the truth of the matter is, everything we're doing now is just as speculative as saying the weather. But it is very odd, and it could be, how do we know it isn't a chemical release? How do we know that there isn't something serious going on in Louisiana that could be harmful for people? It just won't be talked about after, give it a day or two. It won't even be in the news anymore. We'll be talking about, who's going to win the playoff games this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm a resident of Beebe, is it Beebe? I think that's how you pronounce it, or is it Beebe?
I think it's Beebe. I think you said it right.
Yeah, but if I'm a resident of Beebe right now, I'm pretty nervous. You're telling me I've got 5,000 birds dropping out of the sky, dead, and fish just washing up at shore. I mean, what's going on? I mean, obviously something is. I mean, something's wrong. I mean, is there a nuclear facility in the area? Has been a spill? I mean, is there some kind of disease out there? So, you know, I asked the question too. I mean, who watches the news anymore? I mean, all it is propaganda. I mean, I'm convinced that they could just spin anything. I mean, North Korea could launch a nuclear bomb at us tomorrow. I'm convinced our mainstream media would come out and spin it as a good thing, Charlie. You know, less people on the planet, you know, they spin it somehow, like as population control or something.
If it hit in San Francisco, they would say, you know, projected housing starts in San Francisco in 2011 are suddenly on the increase, or you know, they would turn it some kind of good, fuzzy, fluffy, feel-good story. I mean, that is what we're fed, a constant diet of. And because of that, Christopher, and I don't know if you get, I mean, you do pretty impassioned videos as well. But because they're based in the reality, you probably get the label fearmonger at times. But somebody on the video I posted last night, and I wish I'd have wrote this person down because I'd have read this exact comment, which they're saying it isn't a fearmonger. It's a reality monger, you know, and it just is that the reality is pretty frightening when you dig through, when you get to you peel those layers of the onion back and you see the real news. Well, it really does make your eyes water.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, the truth isn't always sexy. You know, what is the old saying? The truth hurts. I mean, you know, the truth, the reality it's a little scary. But I mean, that's the point. You know, people should be scared. I mean, it's not fear mongering; it's reality mongering. I mean, the only people doing any fear mongering is the federal government, are our politicians, or you know, George W. Bush in 2008 using the word panic on national television, telling the American people that it's going to be absolute, you know, Armageddon unless we bail out the banks, unless we, you know, spend trillions and trillions of dollars of taxpayer money to bail out all these broken, bankrupt, you know, disgusting institutions. Now, how are these banks doing now? Yeah, they're doing great. Where's the Dow Jones Industrial Average? Everything looks like a bed of roses. I mean, that's what they're trying to sell us on. So, you know, it's highway robbery. And the thing is, Charlie, the bailouts continue. You know, we're not reading about QE3 yet, but the backdoor bailouts continue. I don't know if you caught this in the news the past few days, but I think it's been overlooked. But you know, Bank of America just settled out of court with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac about $3 billion, which, you know, sounds all good and plenty, but how much did we loan to Bank of America and TARP? What was it, $45 billion? How much did
45
we spend?
I think that was the first one. One. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the first one, and that's not to take into account the trillions and trillions of dollars, you know, in addition to this TARP program that was just specific to Bank of America. I mean, what we're incentivizing is highway robbery. We're incentivizing fraud. I mean, Charlie, if I can go in and rob a bank of $1 million and the only fine I'm going to get from the SEC is of $10,000, well, I'm going to continue robbing banks. I mean, it's a very profitable situation then. So, I mean, you know, that's what we're doing, you know, for our financial institutions, and it really is disgusting. I mean, on top of that, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are both in conservatorship. So you literally have all these defunct, bankrupt, broken institutions that are an embarrassment to the American people, that are literally negotiating with each other on how they can bail each other out on a continuous basis. And, you know, you being a guy in real estate, you know this, there's no way we can even estimate what the future liability and what the future losses are going to be as real estate continues to decline in the next couple of years. So for them to settle out only $3 billion here a few days ago in this, you know, tightly lipped overnight deal while no one's paying attention, I mean, it's ludicrous. It's ridiculous. And, you know, so they're getting away with murder.
Absolutely, and you know, I want to go back to what you said. I'm trying to take notes because you talk almost, if not faster than I do. When we talked about Bush coming out saying there's going to be a gun, you know, there's going to be ATMs aren't going to work, the martial law on the streets. I mean, that was all Bush, Polson getting this rammed through Congress. But it goes back, you know, and I'm sure people can call in and you know, say it's gone back since the 70s, since the 60s, since in the World War II. But, you know, remember Bush, it was panic and pandemonium. We had to invade Iraq. We had to go into Afghanistan. the financial crisis, that fear-mongering led us to unprecedented powers for private banks, for a private banking cartel to go ahead and have these emergency dictatorial-like powers to dictate who fails, who succeeds, who's going to win and who's going to lose, and guarantee that the people they pick to win will never, ever fail. And we heard the word systemic so many times during this crisis, but early on, it's all we heard. This institution is systemic. Everything falls apart if they fall apart. These guys are even more systemic now than they ever were. And bringing it up to now, the fear-mongering still, like you said, it still continues, with Goolsbee on Sunday saying it's going to be worse than 2008 if we don't raise the credit card limit of the nation, which, by the way, today went over $14 trillion. And then you saw adulation in the markets today when the minutes for the Federal Reserve came out saying that, oh, no, QE2 is a go. Speaking to the Bank of America slap on the wrist, I don't even know if you can call it that. It's not even a slap on the wrist. It reminds me, as soon as you said that, what popped into my head was Goldman Sachs and their $500 million fine they paid for, what it amounted to insider trading. But it wasn't, because they had to admit no wrongdoing. They were guilty of nothing. They just paid this $500 million fine and then went along their way. And it got news, the biggest fine, blah, 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 in the history or whatever. But in reality, when you think about the $10 billion they received up front, the $13 billion they received backdoor from AIG, and the unprecedented amount of money they've continued to receive at zero interest, we don't even know. I mean, we're not even allowed to know, because it's a Federal Reserve's business, and even though we're held accountable for that money, we don't get to know what's going on. Which brings me in the last 10 minutes, I want you to talk about that film that you promoted today and that Da Vinci called last night. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, it's funny. It holds your attention. My kids started watching it with me, and I had to kick them out of here so I could get the show going. But I'm going to let him watch it tonight because it does a great job telling the story of the Money Masters, does it not?
I think it does. I personally, and I endorsed it publicly on my channel. I mean, I think it's a brilliant film. Now, there were some comments. I know not everybody's going to agree with every fact, that's put out there in the film. There's some opinion in it, obviously, but I did a little homework on it, and I was trying to find out more and more who's behind this. I was almost thinking maybe it was put out by someone even bigger than the people it mentioned, but it's produced by Tad Lumpkin, written and directed by Tad Lumpkin again and Harold Uhl. And, I think the brilliance of the film is they've taken something very serious that is very close to heart, that is going to affect the American people, that's already affecting the American people. That's why people are listening to this radio show right now, because people are hurting, people are suffering, and it's going to get worse unless we do something, and we do something, right away. But, they've taken the, kind of the guys through a cartoon and, through entertainment, something that can catch a lot of people's attention, and they've done it kind of in a comedic way, almost like a George Carlin. He was talking about how the American dream was dead years ago prior to him passing, but he was doing it through the brilliance and guise of comedy. I think that this film, they're doing it through the guise of animation, but they're getting a point across, and they're bringing it. What I think is brilliant and genius is they're bringing it to a larger audience. They're bringing it to the people that, are so amused by the talking oranges on YouTube, that get the millions and millions of hits compared to, maybe 10,000 hits on our video. So, it's opening up the door, I think, putting it more into the public conscience, which is what we need, which I know, at least for me, and what I'm trying to accomplish with my channel is I want 2011 to be the year that focuses on change. Everybody knows about the bailouts. Everyone knows what a tragedy it is, but what are we going to do about it? So 2011 for me and for, Green Wave and my program really is bringing people together, and we're going to start looking and attacking and putting in place some solutions. So the first thing we need to do is raise public awareness. This is a film that I think can do that. I think there's a lot more that's needed to do that, but it's a start.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. Matter of fact, I'm going to do a promo video for it tonight because I feel the exact same way you do. It is brilliant. It's simple. And like I said in the opening monologue, it's almost a travesty that we have to break it down to this level. But it will, like you said, it'll be like the Fred videos. It'll get hopefully millions and millions of hits because it does a perfect job of to understand how we got to where we're at, which is all the more frustrating if you watch this video and then you read the headlines, which are, hey guys, let's give the people who got us here even more power, and they will fix the problem that they created in the first place. So I'm with you. I think awareness is the most important function of this radio show and of my YouTube site. You know, I've had people ask me for almost 2 years now, you know, what are you doing? What's this about? What is how are you telling people to prepare? And I'm like, you know what? There's a lot of good preppers out there. Miss C. Gypsy in the chat room's a good prepper. She's going to be a guest on the show. Blue Cat's a prepper. She'll be on the show. But that's not what the focus of my show or my radio show or my channel is. It's about waking people up to the reality that your vote is not heard. Your voice is not heard. Your representatives do not represent you. And nothing is going to get better until we, like Warren says, get some integrity into this system. All right, you're in Phoenix. It's the kidnap capital of the world, or at least it was last year. What do you see going forward for 2011? Also, I might say this wrong. Are you a stockbroker as well, Christopher?
Well, you know, I was a stockbroker for years. In fact, I worked for Merrill Lynch for a number of years, and
it's your fault.
I was actually there through the heat of the financial crisis in 2008. So that's my background. And you know, I've been studying finance and economics for over a decade. So that's what I'd been doing for a number of years. At this point in time, Charlie, really what I'm trying to do is go full force into alternative media. I've got a couple things on the horizon. I'm launching a website here in the next few weeks, greenwave.com, which is going to be a great alternative media source, you know, for people that are tired of the mainstream news. And, you know, with the end goal of, you know, helping to foster a grassroots movement to create change in this country and to bring people together and to help the people. Because I'll tell you, Charlie, nobody's helping the people in this country. Nobody's helping, you know, the millions of people that lost everything, you know, when everything crashed around them. You know, the only thing that's happened to them is, you know, we've now got all this, you know, taxpayer debt on our backs, and we've got the crooks on Wall Street telling us and lying to us that we can debt ourselves out of debt. So, you know, I guess that's a little bit of background there.
Well, so, I mean, what do you see 2011 is we're just going to trudge through, because I didn't have you on last week before the end of the year, and I want to get your take with your background and where you're at. You know, really, it's besides the Midwest, it's the hardest hit region. Do you see just trudging through, or do you think we can expect some kind of momentous change in the economy, positive or negative? Before you answer that, I'm going to give my prediction, because I think after seeing the news that came out starting business day one of 2011, I think we're what we talked about earlier. We're going to see a massive run up in the Dow Jones, but we're going to have this propaganda, this fictitious wealth that's going to be broadcasted, and it's going to deflate people even further, because we're going to have another record year of foreclosures. We're going to have another record year of bankruptcies, and we're going to see another year where the income declines. So there's going to be this weird paradox, I think, in 2011, where you might have more and more people waking up to the fact that, you know, 54% right now don't believe the mainstream media anymore. I think we might see that number grow to, you know, 60-70%. But we're going to have this weird paradox in 2011 of, you know, the propaganda finally reaching a tipping point when Wall Street's, you know, 15,000, yet the unemployment rate's still 10% at the U3 or even more. So what are you looking at in 2011? What do you think is coming down the road?
Well, this is what I think is coming down the road. I mean, if we look at, you know, different sectors, you know, we've got rates rising. So, I mean, if you look at the 10-year and 30-year, rates have been, you know, steadily rising from where they were, you know, against the will of the Fed, because, you know, QE2 is supposed to keep rates, you know, low, right, so we can service this massive debt load. But, you know, if you look at a snapshot of today, the U.S. 10-year is at about 3.3%. The U.S. 30-year, I think, is about 4.4% right now. So interest rates are going to go higher. What that means is that's going to make it more difficult for our country to service its debt load. So that's going to be an ongoing theme. I think that that's being mistaken for, a sign of, good economic times ahead and of, this recovery that the mainstream media wants to pitch to the people. So I think that's a theme. I think equity specific, I think we're long in the tooth. To be honest with you, I did not think that we would hold this well into 2010 with equity prices. I think we're going to have a pullback in that area. I think it's likely we see something soon. And, even the guys that, the trading pros that you see on TV in the mainstream, I mean, these guys are saying, well, we could have a little bit more upside, but, when things break down, this is the mother of all, head and shoulder formations that we've ever seen in anybody's lifetime. There was a guy on today that said he thinks that we could see a breakdown to the Dow between 2,000 and 4,000. So that might be a little extreme, but, anything's a possibility. They're kicking the can down the road. We've seen a little bit of a pullback in commodity prices. Gold, silver has pulled back a little bit the past few days. Honestly, I think we could see that shake out a little bit further in the next couple of weeks, but I'm a buyer of that dip. I mean, honestly, I just think they're shaking out the weak hands, and, I'm a long-term bull, precious metals and commodities. Real estate's going to get weaker. Unemployment's it's going to continue to be sustainably high, and things are going to get worse for everyday Americans. That's my one, convincing call of the year. It's going to get worse for the American people in general. Wall Street's going to get richer. The American people are going to get poorer. More and more people are going to get laid off. More and more people are going to lose their homes. So, the one thing I do foresee, which I completely agree with you, is that I do believe that 2011 will be the year of raising awareness and raising this public conscience of what has happened. The fraud, exposing the fraud, exposing these crooks, exposing the cronyism, all of this is going to propel itself into a massive amount of change and a movement. It's coming. It's already started, and, that's what I think that we have to look forward to.
Could not have said it better, Christopher. I think the only solution is the awakening of the masses. It's great to come on here and have 100-plus people in the chat room who are awake, and maybe 1,000 people listening, and maybe 10,000 people watching the videos. But I mean, it's going to take hardship, unfortunately, to wake a lot of people up. But that hardship is coming down the pike like a freight train, and it's impossible to miss if you're awake. So everybody, hang on. 2011 is going to be a very interesting year, no doubt about it. Christopher Greene, Green Wave TV on YouTube. Thank you very much for coming on. We'll get you on again real soon. Everybody, stay tuned. Jeff Rintz is coming up next. We'll be back tomorrow night with Doug Owen from Blacklisted News. Have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.